Sorry, oh, yeah. Exciting summer, world travel, Paris. Oh my, we're lucky if we get to Costco. You like it? What?
It's your last chance to get a good seat. Good morning, Althea. Good morning. My name is Bob, and I'm going to be the MC, the host, the reader of all the stuff, whatever it is this morning. So welcome to Althea. Good to see you. And just a reminder that we say every week, and so far it's worked pretty well. We don't use the threats that we used to as often. So just a reminder to turn your cell phones off or put them on vibrate or whatever doesn't make everybody else hear your phone if it goes off, because we really don't want to. And it couldn't be more important than being here with all your friends and family and community members. So we start every week with a couple of acknowledgments. The first one is about this earth, this soil, these rocks that is the foundation of our building, that holds up the building. There's actually energy there pushing up as the building pushes down. And what we assume is that it will stay there. The energy of the building is not going to raise it up or lower it. It's just going to stay there in perfect balance. And for that, we acknowledge this land. And we remember that this land is indigenous land of the Cheyenne people, the Arapaho, and the Ute people who occupied it way before we did. Their legacy does matter because to them, this ground, like all ground, is sacred. And just by remembering that, it helps us bring more of a feeling of sacredness to our space also. Althea has two different organizations that work here that deal with indigenous populations, and we support them in their work, and we're really glad that they are here to share Althea's building with us with them. Spirit of the Sun and Sisters of Color United in Education. And they work through activism and programming and educational, and they are very impactful on the lives of many indigenous people in the Denver area. We also like to remember that we affirm the diversity of Althea. And we are a community of diverse people, and we are really out there intending and putting it out affirmatively that we want to grow in even more areas of diversity. We are evolving all the time and moving beyond the differences that we have in order to embrace the unity that we all know is the truth of being. It's something that, even though we don't always know it in our conscious mind, our subconscious, our internal being always knows that we are unity, we are one. We are not separated. And I like to remind myself that even at times that I don't feel like that, at times that I feel put upon or angry or upset at someone else, I know there is always something in me that knows this unity at all times. So I think it's good. I like to remind myself of that. Is there anyone that wandered in here today for the first time? If so, would you either raise your hand or stand up and jump up and down and shout and scream? Good. Welcome. Thank you. Barbara, our keeper of the flowers and keeper of the altar, will hand you a flower. And we would love to chat with you after the service. And if you're able to stay, we have lunch. And with that flower, you get into lunch free. So that's always nice, a free lunch. You didn't know you get a free lunch if you came here, did you? And if you can't stay today, please come back and get your free lunch at another time. So welcome to Althea. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Kevin.
Good morning. I was telling Rick about this bowl, and somehow he thinks it's important that I tell you that I got it when I was in India in 2007. Like it'll make it sound different or something. I don't know. Hopefully it makes the experience more special for you as we go into prayer. So I just welcome you to close your eyes. Follow the sound. All the resonance, the oneness that is the truth of all life, all that we are, all that ever has been, and all that ever will be, and all that's in this moment. Oneness, perfection, love, harmony. And I know for myself and each one of us here today that we are this oneness, this wholeness. And we can rest our hearts in the peace and serenity and ease and grace that life is always unfolding perfectly in this oneness. And we are so blessed today to be here to share together. Blessed to have the wonderful Reverend Rachel here. I know perfect clarity, compassion, and guidance as the words of oneness are expressed through her in Nazareth and received to us. That this melts and opens into connection with ourselves, with each other, with all of life, and all of humanity. And I release this awareness in each one of us that we are perfection, that life is perfection. That as we look around and that we see the oneness in all that is, unfolding perfectly, the universe always conspiring in our favor. And so it is.
is on your paper and also on the screen. And then we're going to sing a nice little heartwarming song and do that together also. And then if you can, and if you want to, please stand. Okay. All right. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God, and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. Okay, I'm just going to play the lovely little piano. We're going to sing together.
Okay, this morning we are welcoming back a musician who's been here before, and we really enjoyed having her here. And here it is. Mr. Knobs is an eclectic singer-songwriter and producer. Using a through line of pop, Knobs joins multiple expansive genres together with catchy top lines and provocative lyrics. So let's welcome Mr. Knobs and friend together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me again. This is my favorite place to perform. The acoustics here are perfect. If anyone cares to know, they are perfect on this stage. So it's really a pleasure, so thank you. This is Paul.
Hello.
Paul will be playing ukulele and singing sweet notes.
Live truck will sing so sweetly. Sing so I can hear it. Sing so I can hear it.
So we're welcoming back a speaker today that we've had before and really enjoyed. That's why we asked her to come back. Rachel Harrison. She's had a very interesting spiritual upbringing, including being raised in New Mexico, and I found out today that was Santa Fe. And her parents were early followers of Tibetan Buddhism in the U.S. She found her home in Unity, which is one of the New Thought branches, over 25 years ago, and she attended Columbine Spiritual Center for 22 years, including working there as the Director of Community Care from 2019 to 2022. In April 2021, Rachel graduated from the University of Sedona in metaphysics, completing a long-time dream of becoming an ordained minister. In April of 2022, she stepped out in faith to work full-time supporting the online community she's been developing for the last few years as a spiritual coach, and on her podcast sharing a spiritual path to happy and healthy life called Recover Your Soul. So please join me in welcoming Rachel today. Good to see you, Rachel.
Good morning. Thank you for having me back. It's lovely, lovely to be here today. What a gorgeous day. It's finally summer. You know, we had all that rain. We had the weather that is. Interesting that it's easier to accept the weather as it is than our lives as they are. I just want to welcome anybody who's online. Good morning. So today's talk title is called Acceptance as a Path to Faith. And in my life, it feels like the layers are just continuing to unfold. It feels like my spiritual journey, you think that you've gotten somewhere, you think that you've made some headway, and yeah, you have indeed. But our consciousness is so miraculous and has so many levels to it. And the ability to continue to awaken allows us to have this continued deepening of ourselves. And as I work on this deepening of myself, there's certain words that come that feel like important principles. And it's interesting because this talk ends up having a message that resonates with a Buddhist center that I'm going to speak with in the afternoon, later this evening, and their talk is around patience. Patience as a way of using anger as a spiritual practice, that anger and impatience are a spiritual practice. And I hadn't really put the two together until I was working on all this yesterday, and I was like, oh, of course, patience is acceptance. It is the same. And so much of it does feel like it's the same. But when we start to look at the little nuances of things, that's when we really start to have real deepening and connection of ourselves. I think the interesting thing about this journey is we continue to turn within, and I love speaking at spiritual centers like this because we're here, we're in it together. We all know this. I'm not saying anything that you don't know already. It just happens to be what needs to be cut out today. I am not new in any of these thoughts. We practice them together. That's why we reflect and practice with each other. But when I had come down to this concept of acceptance, and it's interesting, Bob and I were talking beforehand, and he said he was Abe couldn't ask if we could talk about it, but I assume we can. But he said that surrender was hard to say. And I totally understood exactly what he was saying. I'm a recovered alcoholic. And when you go into humility and surrender, there's a level of bringing yourself down a notch that can come with that. There's a level of humility of like, just bring it down a little bit. And until we really start doing this work, we can get caught up in that means that we're less than. But that's not actually what any of that means. Surrender is not about being less than. And acceptance is not about being less than. And in acceptance, on the spiritual journey, it doesn't mean that we have to like something. It doesn't mean we have to approve of it. Kind of like the depth of forgiveness. That you don't have to say what happened to you was okay. You just connect on the level of saying, energetically, I'm not going to hold this anymore. So let's look at acceptance. So who in their lives has somebody, a child, a spouse, a brother, a sister, a parent? Let's talk about that nuclear family right away. That does something that you don't really approve of or think is a great idea. Anyone? Oh, good. We're all raising our hands. That's fabulous. Yes, we live life specifically around people who are in our circle, who are constantly doing stuff that we don't think was a great idea. Or that if they would just listen to the things that I have to offer, it would be so much easier for them. Or if the political parties would be just the way that I think it would be, then I could be comfortable, I could be okay. If the people, the neighbors across the street would just do their yard like I like, then we would all be okay. So this acceptance is so interesting because when you look at it on one perspective, it seems really simple. But the truth is, acceptance is a foundational piece of our inner peace. Soul recovery, which I started for myself 5 years ago in this depth when I stopped finally drinking the poison, I've been in unity forever. I've been doing this work for a long time. I was raised by Buddhist parents. I'm incredibly fortunate to have had a spiritual funnel constantly coming to me, but it was like the funnel was coming, but it was kind of running off mostly. Like I hadn't quite got the thing right. It just was kind of washing over me. And when I decided that I was ready to quit being miserable, when I had hit the level of pain in myself that was worth doing the work, it's like the funnel came in and stuck to the top of my head and has been running through me instead of over and away from me. And the words have been there the whole time. The messages have been clear the whole time. And it's not about judging ourselves and saying, oh, I can't believe that I didn't learn this, or why didn't I learn this before? No, because right here, right now is the moment that you are here to listen to exactly what is your unfolding. So 5 years ago, I quit drinking the poison, and I started really looking at myself and turning within. And the thing that I found was I was not in acceptance of my life. The first noble truth in Buddhism is life is hard. Life is suffering. And the second noble truth is our attachment to how we want it. Our desire for it to be a different way is the source of our suffering. And the third noble truth is there is a solution. There is hope for us. There is another way. There is another path. And the fourth noble truth is the Buddhist Eightfold Path, to allow yourself the freedom from this pain and suffering. So going back 5 years ago to starting the 12 steps, and then it's like the 12 steps for me opened this little door that like bounced out into all of this spirituality that had been offered to me my whole life. It was like I could read words for the first time. I could feel feelings for the first time. And what that perspective gave me was I was in such non-acceptance of everything in my life. I was in non-acceptance of mostly my husband, who was here last time, was my muse, that I get to be honest and say, I didn't have the marriage that I wanted. I didn't have the relationship that I wanted. I didn't have the interactions with our family like I wanted. I didn't have people at work respond to me the way I wanted. And through and friends, all the things that happened. And it wasn't like I was miserable, right? Because sometimes the way that I say it makes it sound like I was walking around all day, every day, just like the whole world was terrible. It's not. It's this undercurrent of this nag that comes and says, man, if they would just do that a little different, if it was just a little, if they would just, then I could be comfortable and I could be okay. Non-acceptance. When we're in that space, we're not in faith. We're not in our spiritual center. We're in our ego structure. And egos aren't terrible. We need egos. Ego structure is what makes us do things and what gives us drive. If we didn't have any ego at all, we'd all just be, lazing around, not trying for anything or wanting for anything. But when we're in that place where things aren't working out for us and we're not happy about it and we're attached, then we start thinking that we're running the show. And we think that we know better. And we think that if somebody else would do something, we'd be better off. So in acceptance, the first thing to do is to realize that you're not in acceptance. The first step is truly to have awareness around the situation so that you can do something about it. If you don't know better, you can't do better. And so when you have an awareness and you start to look at the situation, you say, I'm not happy with this. In soul recovery, I think of it as the first step of soul recovery is that we're powerless over every single thing outside of ourselves. Everything outside of ourselves. And that our desire to change people, places, and things causes us pain. And our attachment to what those desires are is our suffering. So I think of us as like dragging around this bag of rocks. It's all the stuff that we think we're responsible for, all the things we want to change, all the grievances we have, all of our resentments, all the control we have. We're like dragging this big, heavy bag of rocks. And what I encourage people to do is to take a rock out and look at it. And the first thing to do is to realize, I got this big bag of rocks. And you pull out a rock. And I was thinking about some of the things that I've had to have acceptance over. And when I was talking to Bob, it reminded me of something that my son is dealing with. So I'm gonna pull out his rock. Why not? I've got a lot of Miami rocks, but I'm gonna pull his rock out today. So my son is a professional athlete, and he does it for a living. It's a one wheel. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's like an electric skateboard that has a big single wheel with two sides, right? And he's one of the top riders in the whole world. And he does this for a living. So in April, we went to one of the events in Las Vegas, and he took a big spill, and his helmet tagged his collarbone and broke his collarbone. And it was good to be there, right? Because we could watch, take care of him, take him to the hospital. And there's all these things around acceptance in this situation. That when that moment happened, the panic that kind of happened of having your child hurt, puts you in overdrive of what to do, which room to go to, what needs to happen here, right? This is my child. And I was grateful for my spiritual practice because it allowed me to move into faith and to ask for guidance and to ask for peace and to not go into panic and to calm myself down and first and foremost accept that this has happened. You can't deny that he's in pain. You go to the emergency room. Turns out that one is really more of an urgent care center. So now we've just paid one emergency room bill and we have to go to another emergency room actually in the big town, right? Again, acceptance. I don't have to like it. But if I show up at that second hospital and I'm still enraged because we had to go to a second hospital, how is that helping anyone? How is that creating anything that's beneficial to anyone? And I'll tell you what, sitting in a big hospital emergency room in a large town made my son's collarbone feel pretty small in some of the things that came through that we saw. And that was another level of awareness of the complexity of life and acceptance for my situation, for my son's situation. And we went through the motions, and it turned out that he does need surgery, but they couldn't do surgery right away because it needs, I guess, it inflames, and so they can't get to it, so it all has to relax or something. I don't know. But the acceptance was also sending him back to his friends, and on his own, he's 24, he's well adulted. And Rich and I are driving back to Colorado, he lives in California, and just allowing and trusting the situation. And I was blessed every step of the way, and as was he, because we continue to manifest this vision for his highest healing and highest good. And he asked for my help, and I'm really big in non-codependence, so I didn't do it before he asked, but then he asked, will you help me find a surgeon, because he didn't have insurance. And the universe brought the perfect situation and the perfect person and the ability for us to negotiate costs and for him to have it all go really smoothly. Well, for him, one of the levels of acceptance is he's a professional athlete, and now because he has this medal in there, they're saying, you can do whatever you want, but don't fall on it for like a year. When you do the stuff he does, you are going to fall on it. He knows he is. And I've watched him through his spiritual practice go through the cycle that of course we're going to go through. It's not about not having that cycle. It's about being present and compassionate with yourself as you're through the cycle of noticing what you don't want to accept, asking if you can hand it over, asking if you can surrender to this experience without feeling like you need to control it or push it or manage it or make it happen or do for it, but have this acceptance be a path to faith, trusting and believing that he is indeed being guided and held, that this situation is indeed working out for its highest good. And you wouldn't think so initially when he was on the ground with a broken collarbone. And interestingly enough, he's shared with me that it's allowed him to make some changes in his life that are opening up other places where he has interests, other places where he'd like to expand and grow and spend some time with, but he couldn't because his job was so focused on this thing. And luckily, he's also the marketing director for a company, so he gets to do that job in addition to being like the athlete star. So we got to put the athlete star on the shelf. And when he put that on the shelf, it opened up for other people to succeed in ways that they couldn't have, to be able to win, to be able to be seen more, for him to be able to take a back step and to allow the situation and have acceptance of the situation. And through that, other people got to have a little more shine. And he said to me how beautiful that is, that he has been able to have his experience reflect on people in positive ways and allow himself to be accepting of what the situation is. I think for a 24-year-old kid, it's pretty good that he's having this awareness. And we can allow ourselves to have our feelings when we're in the midst of non-acceptance. One of the things that I think we can sometimes do in spirituality is we can bypass the part of us that actually has intense feelings. And we can think, I just need to accept whatever it is. Not necessarily. Because if we didn't have people who don't accept the pollution of the ocean or the loss of the reefs, no one would be eliciting change. And that elicited change means that you can be in acceptance of it but you don't like it, and in the not liking it, you're going to use that energy to have Spirit work through you to find solutions, to be big in the world, to do good in the world, to stand up for yourself. You can have people in your life that are doing things, the family members that we raised our hand around earlier. People and relationships are hard. And when we can accept somebody for exactly who they are, that means the voice that we use when we're communicating with them comes from our healthiest, most resourced self. It comes from our most spiritually grounded self. From the self that actually is Spirit speaking and working through us, versus our ego, pain self that wishes that we could just say it in a way that they would finally be who we wanted them to be, or act in the way we wanted them to act. And accepting, but being clear about what doesn't resonate with you allows you to have a voice that makes you make decisions for yourself. Leaving a job, leaving a relationship, asking for higher standards and boundaries. And I think that gets really confusing around acceptance and self-value because we're nice people. We're really nice people when we come to centers like this, right? We're extra nice, sometimes too nice. And so acceptance is not around being that stepping back. It's around being even more yourself, not needing the world to show up for you in any particular way. Not a husband, or a kid, or a boss. Nobody needs to show up for you in a particular way for you to feel your wholeness. And one of the things I loved in the prayer, or in something that either they said in the morning, was around wholeness. And in soul recovery, I don't think there's anything wrong with anyone. There's nothing wrong with us. We are not broken. You hear people say, I'm not come here because I'm broken. You're not broken. You just forgot. We're remembering our wholeness. We're remembering the strength of who we are. We're remembering that we are a resource, that we can actually accept everything that's happening around us and then stand in the strength of what's underneath and say, I can decide how I feel about this, and my feelings are giving me direction in my life. My feelings are helping me navigate to be my truest self and allow everybody else to have their own experience and be their truest selves. And one more story. So this beautiful child of mine who is so brilliant and creative and smart and made those wonderful decisions and continues to do his healing in a fabulous way is a 24-year-old kid who does a lot of stuff that I think would be better choices. Like turning in his F-150, which had $200 a month car payments for a $60,000 Tacoma, whatever that is, right? And I remember when he called me, he said he bought this car and that he was moving out of his apartment and that he was getting a sponsorship from a truck trailer that does those back ends of the pickup truck where you can live in it, whatever those are, those little inserts. And he was going to live in the truck instead. And so his car payment was now $900. Right? Everyone's mouths were wide open. Yes! Talk about acceptance. It's this moment in time when I think, I could be the kind of mom that could just berate him over what a crappy choice that was. And the part of me that just says, I had to learn through my own doing. I had to hit a wall that made it so that my life was so unmanageable and painful that I was willing to go through recovery. And through that, it gave me who I am today. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. So why do I think that the people in my life who make choices, $900 car payments or whatever it is, why do I think I know what their experience needs to be for their best learning? Why do I think I know that? I don't know. So instead of trying to tell them what a poor choice that was, I said, good for you, sweetheart. That's awesome. When are you going to find out when you get the insert? I don't know. Well, it fell through. The insert fell through. And they had different ideas of what sponsorship meant, He's had a lot of stuff given to him over the years for his talents. But the universe provides, and he was able to get a little travel trailer for real cheap. And he lives in the travel trailer on a farm that he loves, and is a beautiful home for him. And the last time I saw him, talked about how that truck means so much to him. How much he loves his truck, and how much he loves living in this little trailer, and how happy he is in his life. And you think, I would want to be living in a little trailer in Sacramento, California, but he loves it. So, in the acceptance, we also can open up to not only allowing people to maybe have their learnings that are feeling failures on that aspect, but also to open up to whatever someone else's joy is their joy. It may not relate to us, but that's okay. When we accept people exactly as they are, they get to be seen as whole by you. And when we don't accept people as they are, some part of us thinks that they're broken. And the greatest gift that we can give anyone is to see their wholeness, regardless of what it looks like on the outside. And the greatest gift that you can give yourself is to see your wholeness. To live your wholeness, to accept yourself and love yourself, and be in the place of foundational peace and faith and trust that your life too is unfolding in a way that when you open to the trust will guide you to your highest expansion if you allow it. And sometimes that means you go through really hard times. And then it means to love the joy, to be in the joy when it's joyous, to do it all. So radical acceptance is a path to patience and a path to faith and wholeness. Namaste.
Thank you, Reverend Rachel. It's beautiful. We got one more for you. If you promise that you love me, even if I if I set out, even if I set out. Even if I set out, even if I set out, even if I set out, even if I set out. This is called Unacceptance by Patty LaBelle. She says, my sister Barbara tried to teach me this lesson more than 20 years ago. At the time, she was planning her wedding under what I could only describe as bittersweet circumstances. On the one hand, my sister was about to realize a lifelong dream. At age 38, she was about to marry the man she had been in love with since they were teenagers. On the other, she had just been diagnosed with colon cancer. I am convinced that when my sister was planning her wedding, she knew the clock was ticking. Not that she acted like it. On the contrary, Barbara acted as if she didn't have a care in the world. Given the circumstance of her illness, you can understand why her cheeriness freaked me out. However cheery Barbara acted, the hard, cold truth was she didn't have a cold. She had cancer. Given that reality, I assumed my sister would call off her wedding. I mean, how could she stand up and say, "Till death do us part," when she knew how close her death could be? But calling off the wedding was the last thing on Barbara's mind. As I watched in amazement, she went about the business of planning the ceremony as if all were right in the world. Part of me thought Barbara was nuts, and part of me thought she was in denial. As it turns out, my sister was neither. As I would come to learn, the only one who couldn't see the truth was me. One afternoon, however, I just couldn't keep silent any longer. To this day, I'm not sure what made me snap. Barbara and I were going over the reception details, the food, flowers, friends, and the friends that she wanted to invite when I had a meltdown. I lost it. I started sobbing like a baby. It's so unfair. You and Shot finally get your chance, and what happens? You get cancer. What about all the years you've lost? What about all the time you may never get? Doesn't that thought just make you crazy? Barbara wiped the tears from my face. What good would it do to be angry, Patsy, she said gently. I can't change the past, and I can't control the future. I can, however, make the most of the present. Shot and I are together now, at this moment. And if you think about it, this moment is all that any of us really has. The ability to live fully in the moment, in the time and place we are right now, is one of the greatest secrets I know of living joyfully. Because once you grasp it, freedom is very close. You stop worrying about the past and stressing about the future, enjoying life, not agonizing about yesterday or worrying about what might happen tomorrow. Becomes your priority. Your days become a gift, not a grind. In September of 1980, Barbara and Shot exchanged wedding vows before God, family, and their closest friends. 2 years later, my sister died. But what an amazing 2 years they were. The happiest of Barbara's life. Of this much I'm certain. Before my sister passed, she squeezed every ounce of joy out of every single moment. She didn't spend her time dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. She looked at life through the windshield, not the rearview mirror. She lived. More than anyone I've ever known, Barbara understood the power of living in the moment. That life is in session now. That we can't choose how we're going to die or when. But we can choose how we're going to live. Thanks to my sister, I understand that the fear of the future is a waste of the present. That if you look back too much, you'll soon be heading that way. Because if we fill our hours with regrets of yesterday and worries about tomorrow, we have no today in which to be happy. And that today is a precious gift. That's why they call it the present.
And funny she should mention present, because now it's time for us to extend forth our presence to support this incredible spiritual center, this building, the people in it, the people who work here, our everyday experiences and means of keeping this alive and vital. So I invite you to participate however you can in this flow of circulation in your life. Giving and receiving is all the same, it's all one, it's all one flow. And you can give today in the basket. We also have the somewhat infamous tip jar in the back. And that's where you take a credit card and you see how many times you can push it up and down in 1 minute. And makes lots of good surprises. You can also give online. There's a link on our website. And you can also do what we call evergreen, which is what I do. I just set a weekly amount I would like to tithe and give, and automatically post every week. And I get a little email reminding me on Saturdays. And it's just a nice reminder that I'm participating in the flow of this incredible Althea Center. Okay, so, ushers, if you're ready, you will come forth and we'll all join in the affirmation. It's printed in your program. And just for once, think about the words in this affirmation instead of just reading it. Really think about it. The universe provides all that I need and all that I give. With great joy, I share my prosperity, planting seeds for a world I am helping to manifest. And so it is. Thank you. And so now in our service, we do what's called prayers of the people, and this is a chance for any of us to express out loud a prayer request that we have. And that request can be something that we'd like to let go of, something that we'd like to shift, something that we would like to embrace, something that we would like to see happen, something that we would like clarity about. And whenever I use the word clarity, I always like to say gentle clarity, because I would much rather have clarity in a gentle way than with a 2x4 on the side of the head. And this can be for yourself or for someone else. So if anyone had, and this is sent out, Rick takes notes, and he sends it out to over 20 people who do affirmative prayer on behalf of the prayer requests every single week. And we also get quite a few requests online. So it's a very beautiful process that we participate together, and thank you to the prayer partners who do this work every day. So we have a microphone. If anyone has a request for themselves or for a friend, I have to kind of turn around a searchlight, a beacon on top of a lighthouse. Barbara.
Okay, I have one too. Chad Dickerson, or Chadrick. It's for myself. I'm lacking direction in life, kind of a ship without a sail, and just wanting to find my way.
Thank you, Chadwick.
I'd like to ask for your continued prayers for my sister-in-law's sister, who is in the hospital and having chemo and all kinds of things connected with fourth-stage cancer. Her name is Kathy.
Thank you, Barbara.
This is for my sister, and she has a development that's moving into Alzheimer's right now. It's a tough one to acknowledge, and my mother died from Alzheimer's, so it's a sticky wicket. So, yeah, blessings to her to accept it, blessings for my brother and I to accept her process as well.
Thank you.
I just want to lift up our buddy Mark Upshaw, who had a run-in on his bicycle and is in the hospital right now and is going to need some repair and a lot of rest and a lot of prayer. So let's send that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Anybody else? So if you have a prayer request during the week, you can look at the website and there's a place on there where you can post it. And just know that it is being taken care of, so you can accept it and just let it go. Alrighty. And now what everyone has been waiting for, the small morning.
Thank you, Bob. And we don't know what you all are waiting for, so, who knows what could be coming up here. I'm up here to talk about announcements. I'm Jenny Castleberry, and I am part of the team that brings you Sundays and amazing people like Rachel Harrison. So another big round of applause, please, for her being with us. And she will be doing the deep dive. So if you are new, what the deep dive is we give you time to be with prayer partners immediately after this service. If you'd like a one-on-one prayer experience right behind this wall, you can do that. And you still have time to enjoy the dining room with us. And around 12:30-ish, maybe a little earlier today, you get to go into a smaller, facilitated discussion with Rachel about today's theme. And you get to learn more about her and her journey. She gets to learn about you and your journey. So it's just a wonderful way to have that smaller, intimate experience. That also will happen in the Historic Library immediately after. Now, just like we had Rachel today, we have 2 more speakers in July that we would love for you to roll out for and encourage folks to come to. Next Sunday is Christine Renee Monks, who is one of our new favorites, who will be joining us. Then the last Sunday in July will be Chris Parente Rios. So he is another valued, loved member who is super dynamic, so he'll be speaking. And then when we move into August, it will be our new spiritual leader who is going to be doing Sundays. So that's what's happening for the rest of the month there. A few other things that are happening. Gong Bath is next Sunday. If you have never been bathed by the vibrations of a gong, you need to roll out, check it out. We'll be at 12:30. And again, invite your friends, let folks know. Everything I'm telling you about today is on our website. So if something intrigues you, you can always go to altheacenter.org and find out about that. And we also have every Thursday, we are still doing our online community discussion that is called Community Connections. That is at 11 a.m. on Thursdays. We are going to be on pause until the first week of August. Otherwise, the class tends to meet every Thursday. Kathy Humphreys, waving her hand in the back, is the person you would want to talk to if you want to know more about that Zoom experience. Let's see what else. Our 100-year campaign. Get that thermometer up to the top, folks. We have till the end of the year.
We need your help to make it that last 1/3 together. We're gonna get there, I know we will. And the Board of Trustees, we need 2 to 3 more folks to help us out. And I know we have 2 people who are very interested and might even be showing up today to check out our board meeting that's happening, but we still would love to have more of you involved. So if you want to have a say, if you want to have a voice in things that happen, if you want to help support the new spiritual leader, be on board. It's a great place to be. I think that might be everything. I always check in with Rick Kitzman because he's our emeritus board president, which is a really high-paying position, isn't it? Yeah, super high. Yes, Ms. Perry.
Yes, I guess either I'm misunderstanding something, I don't know, but when we took a vote last week,
Yes.
I said it was a straw vote.
Are we talking about spiritual director leader? You're going to hear in just a moment where we are in that process. All right? Just not during announcements. Okay, anything else someone wants to throw in there that should be announced? All right. Then what I would like to do is turn it back over to our song leader, Daryl. Bob will wrap us up and back to our MC, Bob. Thank you.
Good morning. Give Rick a chance to come up and this morning our community song is Simple Hills. So please stand as you're able and join me in Simple Hills. Tis the gift to be simple, tis the gift to be free, tis the gift to belong down where you want to be. And when you find yourself in a place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to beg, we shan't be ashamed to turn the wheel how you ride. By turning, we come down right. 'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where you ought to be. And when you find yourself in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is seen, to bow and to beg, we shan't be ashamed to turn. We are delight by turning, we come right. Thank you so much.
All righty. Stay upright, uprisen. And if you'd like to grab a hand of someone near and get ready to shout out.
Here we go.
Something wonderful is happening to you right now. Something wonderful is happening right here at Althea Community.
Something wonderful is happening right here at Althea Community.
We have a new spiritual leader.
We have
offered the position to Christina Jones, and she has accepted it all the way in Florida. So join me in saying, hooray! Hooray! I know all is good and all is well.
All is good and all is well.
I know it. I feel it. And I am it. And so it is.
I did. Well, it's really hard. But yeah, it made me.